Well, my friends, it's time for that time. Our good friend Bob Kudla from Trade Genius and TradeWithLionel.com. TradeWithLionel.com. Mark this down. Prick your finger in blood and write it on your forehead. TradeWithLionel.com or call 1-800-949-1408. Bob, every time we speak, you never fail to do anything short of mesmerize us. What's going on in the world, politically, financially, economically? Tell us now, wow us, make us, make us weep and act and wax frenetic, sir.
Oh, that's a big lead in.
Yes.
Well, I think we're going to suffer from too much success. So we had the tariff. The tariff news is kind of winding down. Really, the only thing really left here is really the battle they had with Europe. But it looks like Trump has locked down all the Asian tariffs that he wants, and they're pretty good. So, I would consider looking at the what I would call the allies of America in Asia, but those that are opposing Chinese domination have cut pretty favorable deals with the United States in terms of the United States getting good deals. So you have Vietnam, you have Indonesia, you have Japan and Korea. And the Japan one just came out today. We're talking on Tuesday. I don't know when you're going to post this, but they only 15% reciprocal tariffs between each other. It's pretty generous to Japan. Japan's our linchpin ally in that part of the world. Obviously, the other end is Australia, which goes coast, the basically the Pacific Wall, and then you have India. So I think Trump has really strong economic foundations for Asia right now, and now he's going to focus his full attention on Europe. And Europe's being a little feisty right now, but they'll lose any reciprocal war with the United States. They just send too much export to the United States. So having said all that, two things are coming out of it. One is that basically the importers and the corporations are eating all the tariff fees. And I think they're going to eat them long term. And I have friends that own businesses that do import, and basically they're telling me that between either themselves or their suppliers, they're eating the extra costs. They're basically paying the tax, if you will, to Trump. And some of the guys say we have enough margin, so we're not going to anger our customer base. And the people saying I can't raise my prices, customers simply won't buy. So it's really, really fascinating to me. Now, my one friend that has it, he sells to end users, so they're not cost sensitive because it's a luxury product. But he has no intention of raising prices. He goes, I'm not going to basically kill the golden goose by trying to squeeze them for 15%. And so it's really interesting to me. So Trump was right; his instincts were correct. Powell was wrong. And which leads me to phase two, is that they're going to probably start the reduction of interest cycle in the fall. And with that comes the market will follow the interest rates down. So Trump will probably suffer from too much good news, if you will. Remember, bad things don't happen when you expect them, unless it's a, what do you call it, the black crow or the black shadow or the the out of the blue stuff, right? So usually these markets will die of indifference. And I think that's what we're going to see here. The markets are right now really, really, which is really scary. The market is now being held captive by the options market, and which means that everybody now is a degenerate gambler, and we have billions of dollars a day going in to try to prop the market. And all you need is 1 or 2 days where there's not as much activity, and the gravity takes over. And it could be an elevator ride. Have you ever been to Disneyland? They have that the Tower of Terror. There's a Tower of Terror day in the market coming over the next 60 to 90 days. So that's the thing that I try to warn people on. Look, you made a lot of money. You may want to call this thing good, trim a little bit, save some cash, so you can catch that crash, if you will. And that crash may not come in one day; it may come over a course of like 4 or 6 weeks, and then you get yourself positioned then in the late fall. So that's kind of where I'm seeing things right now. Geopolitically, unless something really wild happens, Trump's winning there too. He's going to get to a point now where the Middle East is now manageable. Iran is the mullahs will be lucky to survive over the next 2 to 3 years. They're significantly weakened right now. They have no strategic threat left to them. They either chose not to or are able to carry out terror attacks in the United States. And maybe we threaten them, saying, we'll end your existence if we see a terror attack. I'm not sure. But the important thing geopolitically is that Russia and China has tried to tie us down in Ukraine and tie us down in the Persian Gulf. And we're in a situation now where we can actually start moving resources out of the Middle East and to then give China our full attention. And the Chinese are very worried about that. So, the United States is just going to pump weapons into NATO. NATO, you take care of Ukraine, and we'll move our assets out of the Persian Gulf, and we'll move them into the Indo-Pacific region. And now China has our full attention, and China doesn't want that. And right at a time where maybe Xi's not in power anymore, we don't know that. He did not leave the country to go, which is pretty scary. And for a Chinese standpoint, they called it a new marshal, I guess, to run the army. Now we don't know where he sits on this. My sources tell me, I don't have any inside sources. But my sources tell me that there's kind of 3 factions inside of China right now. There's the Xi camp, then there's the Hu Jintao camp, and then there's this what I would call the interior camp. And the Xi camp, believe it or not, was the moderate camp. And so there's one that wants to simply have a economic relationship with the United States. Let's tone down the rhetoric, and long term we can maybe have America lose interest in us, and then we can then carry out our strategic goals. The interior people are really where the peasants are. They're a little bit more hardcore, but they're not necessarily outward looking. They're more inward looking, and it can really cause some strife internally. So those are, and I could be all wet, but I've been reading everything I can on China. China is my very much sole focus of interest, because if China can be tamed, then it's Pax Americana again. And Trump just wants to just drive forth economically. His message to all these leaders are, why are we fighting each other? Let's all just get rich. And which I think is a really interesting point of view. You appeal to these guys saying, look, wars you can lose the war, right? And a lot of times you can lose your internal power base trying to conduct war, or you can just simply get rich. And I think that's probably the message he's sending out there. And, it probably resonated very well with the Saudis. And, maybe Putin can play, Trump can play Putin against, Xi or whoever that marshal is. And I think we can gain some control here. So really interesting times. I've been, as been pretty consistent with my messaging here. I was never in the China rising camp. I think China is regional power at best, and they overplayed their hand. And they're not leaders in technology; they're incredible followers. But unless you're the lead dog in a technology race, you're always playing catch up.
Now, remember, for those just tuning in, your political aspirations, your thoughts regarding Trump or Democrats or whatever it is, may have nothing to do with your economic forecasting. The two have nothing to do with each other. They should be looked at each other. This is not you never change your financial outlook in order to accommodate your political wish list. You don't sit there and say, I like Trump. He's a great guy. So, yeah, I think things are going great. No, if things are not going great, you'll say it, which I want people to understand does not mean you have turned in your MAGA hat or your membership card. The two have nothing to do. So, lest someone's listening to you and say, oh, here's another Trump, one of these apologists. No, 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 no. Because no matter what Trump does, good, bad, or otherwise, you will adjust your your financial strategies accordingly. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm extremely practical. There's some things I don't like that Trump's doing, but right now I think he's doing. Put it this way, I think Trump's doing the only thing he can do. Okay, so there's you either could throw the baby out with the bathwater, do a deflationary collapse, and start over. Okay, that's not helpful. Or you can do a Zimbabwe strategy, which is not helpful. Or you can combine a little bit of financial repression, which he wants to do, which means push interest rates down lower than the market would, ultimately require of you, and then take it out of the height of your economic competitors and bring the work back into the United States and create basically a wage pressure cooker and try to grow your way out of this. Remember, look, this is an infinite environment. I guess in the next 12 or 13 years, there'll be less people taking Social Security and Medicare than are contributing to it again. So, the baby boomers will start rolling off as an aggregate expenditure. And you got the echo boom then moving into its highest earnings. So you're going to have
What is that?
What's that?
What is the echo boom?
So there was the boomers, and then there was the boomer bust, and then there was the echo boomers. That's the kids of the boomers. And so it's not as big as the boomers, but it's pretty damn big. And so, you have a window here. If Trump can bend the curve, you're going to have a window in about 10 or 12 years where you can play some catch up before that echo boom comes into play. And so he wants to try to grow the GDP at 4 to 5%. I think he could probably get there. I think you'll see costs kind of rising, but at some point, if we keep nuclearizing, if that's a term, you're going to put a ceiling on energy costs, because that's once you build a plant and once you buy the uranium, the cost of running the plant is like 2 or 3 cents a kilowatt hour. It's not expensive. You're just amortizing that upfront investment, and natural gas is cheap. It's everywhere. And so, if you create a hydrogen economy and you create a natural gas economy, nuclear economy, you're gonna bend the curve on energy. And then with all the baby boomers dying, rents are going to fall. Immigration getting curtailed, rents are going to fall. And then now they're focusing on how do we use AI, machine learning, and some smart policy to bend the curve on the healthcare. And I'll give you an interesting thing that people don't know. So with this machine learning and AI right now, there's a company that's going to go public here in the next year or so. I'll look the name up. I'll give it to you for maybe our next call. Is that they're going to be able to do use echocardiograms, the normal thing people get, ECG, EKGs, and they're going to be able to, at a high degree of confidence, very early detect heart disease. So instead of you coming in because you have chest pains, they'll start testing you out at 35 and 40 and adjust treatments at a very early age. And so, and they're going to do the same with the technology. My wife's type 1 diabetic. She's been a diabetic since she's 25 years old. And the technology that's starting to come out in terms of being able to control people's blood sugar is just amazing. Not, for people that don't know, type 1 is where your body kills the ability to produce insulin. Type 2 is you either genetically or through habit, lifestyle, make it difficult for your body to absorb insulin. And so now they have methodology and drugs and information now to start bending that curve. it's cancer, heart disease, diabetes. So they're going to be able to create the testing, and you're going to see things that'll probably blow people away here in the next 5 to 10
Oh,
years.
listen, that is going to be one of the best things ever. And by the way, aside from that, huge advances. You mentioned our number one killer, which is heart disease. Every 750, 800,000 every single year through basically lifestyle and otherwise changes. That's being done, believe it or not, in addition to AI, just in terms of the way we're looking at treatment and hyperlipidemia and everything aside from that. Also, friends of mine who are in the business, radiologists, people who are dermatologists, being able to send somebody, say, look, here's this thing. People are going to be able to use apps to look at skin lesions, and it's going to it's going to cut down and actually it will actually increase preventable intervention. Let me throw some other things too. For those who don't know, crypto. People can't follow it. What's going on? Is this good, bad? Will one day cash completely be replaced? Are we going to go cashless, CBDCs? Where is that going, Bob?
Yeah, so I'll answer the last question first. We're already cashless society, essentially, right? So, people say, oh, we're going to go cashless because of crypto. Well, how much time do you get your wallet out and bring cash, right? I say we're 95% there anyway. It's just that the notion of being forced to be that way. No, the crypto law came into place on Friday, which basically gives more certainty around stable coins and certain altcoins. And it's a little bit of a sell the news event because people have been waiting for this for months. The interesting about crypto, and I think I may have talked on this show about it before, is that my personal view has always been is Bitcoin is a construct of the United States intelligence community, the NSA, and it was designed to protect the dollar, basically a flanking for the dollar. And I'm more convinced than ever of that. You see the way the United States government is embracing Bitcoin like no other country is. And the stable coins are a really clever way to absorb treasuries that are being produced from deficit spending, because they collateralize the stable coins that they create by issuing, not issuing, but by purchasing treasuries to hold as collateral. And that in turn then provides the fuel to buy more Bitcoin, and you create this cycle. And then the government will have more and more of those digital assets as part of on their books. Banks will have that as tier 1 assets on their books. And now you have protection for the dollar. You have a customer for treasuries. And I think it's really, really, really clever. And so, you're going to see more and more of that. There's going to be some crazy altcoins that come out. Just ignore that. We at Trade Genius are big on either you own Bitcoin outright, or a lot of people are afraid of that, and which is okay. And you can actually have Bitcoin exposure by buying ETFs like BITO, YBIT, MSTY. You could buy the Bitcoin miners, and I'm not as big a fan on those, but you can buy those as well, and you can get some incredible yields. We've been in an ETF called MSTY, which is a derivative, a synthetic positional MicroStrategy. That basically people have doubled their money in the last year, and it's still paying out a distribution rate of north of 60% a year.
Wow.
And the reason why that works, people get really confused of this, is because they create a synthetic, called a synthetic option, meaning that you have natural leverage in there. So if you're just a call writer, people who covered calls, you might be making, 10 or 20% a year in addition to the share price. If you put synthetic on this, you're adding a leverage of 4 or 5 times more to it, because you don't have to hold the collateral of the shares. You're holding the collateral of the what they call a long call and a short put. You guys can look it up. Just look under MSTY. And then there's a lot of other ones. There's 60 or 70 these out there now. Some pay weekly dividends. So we have our clients. If you want to join us for no other reason, we'll teach you how to use these things.
That's what I want to talk about now. Now that we've whetted the appetite of the viewers and they're saying, I love this guy because you know more than anyone, bar none. And if you don't say it, I'll say it. Bob Kudla, somebody wants to go to tradewithlionel.com because that is our connection, tradewithlionel.com. That is their ignition switch to you when you're a genius, you're a trade genius, or calling 800-949-1408. Bob, what did they get? What did they do? How did they join the mayhem and the excitement?
Yeah, so you get two levels. One is you could be in what's called the chat room, where you get all the signals that we put out. We put trade signals out. Like I just put one out 2 days ago for IPI, the fertilizer company. Bought it at 31. We just targeted it out at 37 2 days later. So I put a trade like that out there every day. We have a really good track record on that. We're at 65% win rate, 75% annualized return on those trades. And we give those out every day. We also get access to the chat room. We also get access to the education on how to, trade these high dividend products, if you will. And then also you get to ask me questions in the room. Or you can go to the next level, and it's called the VIP voice room, where like you and I are talking. We have a room now. There's a couple hundred people in there, and people are bantering back and forth, asking me questions, me talking to them all day, just like I'm talking to you, talking insight, ideas, opportunities. And what we charge for the service, Lionel, is nothing compared to what you get out of it. I mean, if people just took that trade, IPI trade, would have already paid for 2 years of the service. So
wow.
we charge is nothing, compared to what you get out of it. And these high yield products are simply amazing. And you don't have to trade those. I mean, you just hold them. And I was showing somebody, there's a trade called ULTY. Last June, I purchased 4,000 shares of it for about $54,000. Okay. As of last end of June, this couple of weeks ago, I had 10,000 shares of it. My price moved from 54 to 68,000. So $14,000 profit, 25% return. But my run rate now, it pays a weekly dividend. My run rate on this now is that I'm earning $1,000 a week on that $54,000 investment now. Okay, now I'm dripping it, which means that I keep adding to the shares. By next end of April, that same investment will be north of 120,000, and I'll be generating $2,000 a week in income. Okay, so this is the power of compounding, and it's the power of compounding these leverage instruments. And then people will say to me, well, what if the market crashes? Well, this particular entity can go long or short the market. And because it's a seller of options, okay, they're betting against, they're trading against what I call the degenerates out there, the gamblers. So you're the house, okay? And so you're raking all the time. Now, of course, if things move too far too fast, your collateral gets affected too. So sometimes you will get a downdraft, but in general, these things will just keep grinding. And when these things came out 2 years ago, you couldn't get a broker to even allow your clients to even buy these things. Now, not only are they allowing them to buy these things, they're grudgingly agreeing that these things are pretty awesome. And we just help you kind of through that. And there's, like I said, there's 60 or 70s out there. These aren't my inventions. I get nothing from sharing them with you other than what you pay for to be part of the service. But it'll change your life. I mean, I joke that I said these things could put me out of business, and I'd be quite happy if people can make this kind of consistent money long term. I'm happy to go into the night. Okay, that's how much I like these things. These are game changers. I get emails from people saying I've changed their life by just introducing them to these things. And nobody talks about them. I still talk to friends today that are just really didn't even know these things even exist.
That's what's interesting. That's because everybody's talking about Bitcoin, which is wonderful. I mean, wonderful. But the thing is, they have to talk to you. You live and breathe this every single day. And it's
Yeah.
the best. It's like this low pressure, just sell the information, because once you're not a broker, you're not Jim Cramer. You sell your service, and you want everybody to make gobs of money and profit so that your word spreads. TradeWithLionel.com is where to go. TradeWithLionel.com, or call 800-949-1408. That's it right there. So please do a favor, call and make sure you saw Bob Kudla, Kudla, with Lionel, and you'll get a super special uh, deal, discount, recognition, because it helps us. Because when we put the message out to help you, everybody wins. That sound about right, Bob?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And just so you know, with these products, you still get exposure to Bitcoin too. So there's no either or here. How would you like to make a high yield and have exposure to Bitcoin, which is going to continue to move up because of the debasement of
Absolutely.
currency? Yeah. So yeah. So look, I mean, like I said, what we charge is very reasonable. So, and look, the way this works is that you hopefully make money by being part of my service. I have a business that I can work, raise my family on, and I'm supporting Lionel. So it's a three-way win. Nobody gets greedy, and we all win on this thing.
Absolutely.
And yeah,
Bob
so I'm
Kudla,
doing it.
thank you, my dear friend. As always, it's always a pleasure. I wish you nothing but the best. We will talk again soon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Indeed, sir.